The United Nations is an international intergovernmental organization responsible for the cooperation between sovereign states. To understand why the United Nations exists, one must first understand its origins as a replacement for the League of Nations. Before World War I, a complex web of alliances defined the political landscape of Europe. On one side were the Allied powers, which included the United Kingdom, France and Russia, and later the United States. Opposing them were the Central Powers, Germany, Austria-Hungary, and the Ottoman Empire. While the immediate trigger for World War I was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria, the real cause of World War I may be traced to the events that followed. In an event titled the July Crisis, major powers of Europe became increasingly hostile toward the nations that were not in their alliance. Within weeks, this hostility evolved into a full-scale war. Due to recent advances in military technology, World War I quickly became one of the most devastating wars in history. The Western front of the war was mainly a war of attrition. That is, both sides sought to inflict as much damage as possible to belligerent soldiers and civilians. In addition, the Ottoman Empire took an opportunity to commit genocide against the Greek, Assyrian, and Armenian ethnic groups. In total, over 9 million combatants and 7 million civilians died as a result of the war. Afterwards, many Europeans felt disillusioned, and the great losses of life prompted world leaders to find a new 20th century solution to war. In 1918, Woodrow Wilson released his 14 points, an outline of how he believed nations could prevent another world war. The 14th point was the establishment of an association of nations, working together to resolve disputes diplomatically rather than through war. His vision would later materialize with the creation of the League of Nations. For years, the League of Nations admitted new members and at its height serviced 58 member states. But the League had two main problems. Firstly, the League of Nations had difficulties effectively making decisions. In order for an action to pass, a unanimous vote of 9 and later 15 of its council members was required. Secondly, the League of Nations failed to adequately represent the interests of countries worldwide. The United States never joined, and the League did little to support the self-determination of colonies. At the League's dissolution in 1946, 750 million people, or nearly a third of the world's population, lived in occupied territories, dependent on European colonial powers. Japan, Italy, and Germany all joined the League of Nations as permanent members of its council. By 1933, however, Japan left the League after it voiced opposition to the Japanese invasion of Manchuria. In the same year, Germany left when Adolf Hitler took power. In 1937, Italy also decided to leave. Japan, Italy, and Germany later formed the Axis powers and fought against the Allies in World War II, which included the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, and the Republic of China. Leaders in Allied nations believed that because the League was unable to prevent World War II, a newer, more effective organization must be established to ensure peace. Franklin D. Roosevelt coined the term United Nations to describe the Allied powers. He envisioned an organization which had a strong executive branch, made of 4 permanent members, the 4 policemen. After the end of World War II, in October 1945, the United Nations came into existence following the signatures of 5 countries, namely the United States, the United Kingdom, the Soviet Union, the Republic of China, and France. Today, the United Nations is credited with being active in decolonization. Now, only 2 million people live in occupied territories. In addition, the Security Council has effectively been involved in civil disputes. Relatively recently, the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1973 allowed a legal basis for NATO members to intervene in the Libyan civil war. Various specialized organizations of the United Nations have intervened in economic and environmental international matters. For example, the International Monetary Fund provided 3/11ths of the money to bail out Greece in their 2010 economic depression. The signing of the Paris Agreement represented a large milestone in combating anthropogenic climate change and was contained within the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. For more information about the United Nations, check out our other videos.